Beyblade is a game of favorites. Every blader I know, and every blader you know, probably has a favorite Beyblade, whether it be Chozy Valkyrie, Rage Longinus, Geist Fafnir, Burst Spriggan, or the good old Nightmare Longinus. Everyone has a favorite Beyblade, but what makes Beyblade so diverse, so different, is a driver. See, the driver is what makes the Beyblade move around the stadium. A driver, it what makes the Beyblade be able to move differently, have different levels of stamina, different levels of movement, so forth, so forth. So today we're going to be going over 5 different competitive drivers that I like using that are also generally very fun to use and that not a lot of people use because they're either overshadowed, outclassed, not accessible, or just overlooked. Now number 5 is one you probably know about, the Mobius driver from Variant Lucifer, Mobius 2D. And the Mobius driver, as you already probably know, classifies as an LAD driver, which is life after death, the ability to stay upright or the ability to keep on spinning after you basically die, quote unquote, in terms of Beyblade, where you wobble over and are able to stand up. So the Mobius driver excels in this because it is a flat-tipped, tall washer driver, which means that if you wear the Mobius driver down, it performs very similar to something like Evolution or Variable. The more you wear it down, the better it becomes because you can go much more aggressive around the stadium. You can move a lot more, which allows you to stall around the stadium on things like Perfect Phoenix, Outer Mobius, where you can run laps around your opponent and outspin them. You can do things like Rage Longinus on Mobius, where you increase the 3A chassis point of contact because it's lower and Mobius is taller. You can use it on like shorter contact bays, which again, like Rage Longinus, I actually have a video on that, which is one of the most popular ones in my channel right now, so you should probably go check that out if you want to see something about the Mobius driver. But the Mobius driver is just very, very cool to use, and it's just very, very fun to use. And I put it at number 5 just because you probably already know about it. It's simply just overshadowed by Drift and Bearing Drift, as it is the necessary, it's the ancestor. Drift is the upgrade to Mobius, although not in every single way, because Drift, unlike Mobius, is not as controllable, in my opinion. It's much more unpredictable, and it's not as good in same spin if you don't know how to control it. Mobius can also be much more aggressive. Now, number 4 is the hybrid driver. See, the hybrid driver is an electric driver, and even though it released in GT, and a lot of people might view it as a GT kind of driver, it is still relevant today in the Dynamite Battle system. It may only weigh like 37 grams to my memory, but even without batteries, I have run out of batteries on my copy. The hybrid driver is very interesting because, again, like Mobius, it is a taller and bigger driver than other bays. So essentially, the hybrid driver, when you wear the tip down, it becomes more stable. This driver is also it kind of pushes down on the thing. So you can ride the hybrid driver, you can make it move around the outside. The hybrid driver is also very good defensively because it has such a thick and wide surface area. So you can tilt on the side and recover. It is also just very good for stamina. It's just a really big driver, and you can use it on so many different stamina type setups, and it's just fun to use because not only does it sit in the center and just spin like a big giant sandwich, but it can move around the stadium. You can use it to ride the ridge. You can even get some really cool KOs with this if you know how to use it properly. So hybrid is just a very cool driver. And even especially if you have the batteries inside it, like Mobius, it can stall around the stadium for an infinite amount of time, and you just have so many different movements and even backward spins you can do with it. And of course, to turn it on, you just flick the switch outside, which mine is already flicked because it's out of battery. Now, number 3 is another driver that is non-accessible because the hybrid driver is actually a driver that is not very accessible because it is released only in one set, the Primal Apocalypse booster set with Regalia Genesis in the GT era, which was back in 2019. That's literally the only way to get it. So it's it's common. It's you know about it, but it's really not very common for people to have it because of that. Now, number 3 is another thing, the Moment driver. Now, the Moment driver has been released, I believe, about 3 times. One on the Roar Bahamut Giga Moment 10, another time with a random booster that was a yellow color, and a third time with Dynamite Kirbyus Legacy Moment 9, which was exactly how I got this moment. Now this moment I really like just because it's orange, and for some reason the orange color on a Beyblade driver always looks very clean. You get the nice, like, this is like, I'm opening my window right now so you can see like how it shines in the sun, and it's just very cool to see how like sometimes a driver that is transparent, or like a layer that is transparent, like Dynamite F Gear, if you have the silver version, which came in the entry set, it's like see-through. And like Geist Fafnir, if you put it here, is like see-through kind of. It's hard to tell from here, but like the driver is like shiny. So it's very cool to see that. And it also, the moment driver excels defensively, because essentially the guard driver from Blast Genius earlier on in the God series has the same gimmick, where you basically have a ball tip in the center and a guard kind of shaft around it. The difference here is that it has these little spikes going around the ring. And this basically ensures that this little ring will stay inside. What it also does is that the ring moves around. So unlike the guard driver, which might be spinning and the thing might scrape on it, this driver can actually move up. You can actually like push it very slightly, as you can see, and it moves around. So essentially, wherever the ball tip makes contact with the stadium, the guard tip is like twisted. So essentially, whenever the attack type will hit you, you will twist onto that guard, push friction onto the stadium with force, and you will basically recover. So the moment driver is very good in defensive scenarios. It is also very good in same spin, and it's just very nice to use because a lot of drivers like Atomic or Orbit or Yard or Universe, the ball tip drivers, the circular defense drivers, really don't do their gimmick as intended. You can't actually do Emperor Crash. The Universe driver scrapes, the Yard driver scrapes, Atomic's outclassed, Orbit is outclassed. So Moment just takes all of these older gimmicks that Beyblade tried to do with these defensive drivers and actually makes it work. You can move around the stadium, you can move it, like it's just very good defensively, you don't scrape, it's free spin, like it's got everything, and it's just very nice to use, and I just really like the driver. It's not necessarily the best thing ever competitively, but I just like it, it's fun to use, and it's definitely worth a try. I actually have a combo, Heaven Dragon 2 Zero Push Moment Goku, that is a very good defensive build in GT, and not only does it have a defensive build, but it's very stable. Moment is a very stable driver because the guard kind of moves around the shaft whenever it's like twisted. Now number 2 is Evolution Dash. Now Evolution Dash is probably one of the funnest driver ever to use. The same as Mobius, when you wear the Evolution Dash driver down, it becomes so flat that you could I could probably put it flat right here. Like that's how flat it is. It's literally worn to the point where I can put it on the table here that is flat and it will stand up. That's how worn my Evolution Dash is. Now this driver is a dash version. It's first of all, it's like Moment, it's very nice and blue and you can see through it. Like this is a very shiny blue color. It's a dash driver, so you'll never burst. It's also so aggressive. You launch it in the stadium, it will go crazy. It will hit the walls, it will rebound you, it will KO things, it will anti-attack, it can smash attack. It's even got pretty good stamina for an attack driver. In fact, on something like Imperial Dragon in GT or Hazard Kerbeus in Turbo, you can actually use the thing on Evolution Dash, and because the layers are so heavy and so big and wide, and just so aggressive, even on Hazard Kerbeus, the contact points, you can hit very hard, you can outspin things, and it covers the weakness because you're not hitting directly. Because the layer is so wide, you can hit indirectly from the side and it won't burst as much. And that's just, you can use so many different things on Evolution Dash, basically any aggressive layer, you put it on Evolution Dash and it becomes instantly very, very powerful. It has the capability to KO other opposite spin extreme drivers. It has a wider surface area, so it's much faster. It can also again, anti-attack. You can smash against the walls and rebound. It's just very, very fun to use. And it's just such a good driver aggressively. And it's just the idea that you get better the more and more you use it is just so attractive to use. Now, Rise is number one. Rise is probably, in my opinion, the most underrated competitive driver there is in Beyblade, like as a whole. Originally, the Rise driver was released on Wizard Fafnir, which definitely made people look down on it, not think as much of it. But when you use the Rise driver, it has a sharp tip. The more you use the Rise driver, the more the sharp tip wears down, just like Evolution Dash. And just like Evolution Dash, the more you wear it down, the better it becomes. Like Mobius, the lower the guard is, basically you have this sharp tip. The lower the sharp tip is, the lower this actual plate becomes to the ground. So you can get to the point where you can tilt on this thing and stay upright. Not only will you be able to tilt on it, but if you wear it to the right degree, you can actually ride the ridge. You can launch it, swing your launcher. The plate will be so low that the plate will actually make contact with the outer edge of the stadium and start to ride the outside of it. Not only that, but you'll be able to KO other attack type drivers because of it. And not only that, but you'll be able to rebound off the wall, go into the center, and still be able to spin like a normal stamina type driver. Not only that, but you'll be able to outspin so many things in opposite spin because of your ability to stand up and shift and stand onto the plate. So it's essentially a very good balance type driver because you can use it aggressively, you can use it as a counterattack type of thing, you can use it in opposite spin, you can even use it to KO something in same spin if you get it right. And not only that, but because the Rise driver is essentially sharp and you're wearing it down, when you wear down a cone, it doesn't become flat immediately. It becomes a circle because you wear down the sharp part first. So if you wear the Rise driver down to a certain degree where it's a circle, you can actually destabilize drivers like Baron in same spin. Again, with the right setup, I like using something like Dynamite F-Gear Dragon, whatever disc. Illegal's probably best on it with 9, for an example. You can also use it on Imperial with GT because Imperial is just very wide, and if you have the upgraded like mold version, it won't burst as much. One of the weaknesses of Rise is, of course, you can self-KO because of how fast it is, how aggressive it is. You can't really, it's hard to control, but if you can't control it, you'll be able to do well. And of course, it doesn't have the strongest spring. It does have a generally weak spring. But the Rise driver is just, it's my favorite driver to use just because you can ride the ridge with it. It's just so attractive to use because there's so many qualities, and it's so nice to see a driver that is not only decent to use in same spin, not only good in opposite spin, but it can counterattack and it can KO things. And just the idea of a driver that rides the ridge is just such a rare thing to see, because so many drivers that are aggressive just flower pattern that you kind of forget the whole idea of riding the ridge and actually anti-attacking or stalling. And that would be the end of the video with these 5 underrated drivers. They're all very good competitively, they're all very fun to use, and that's just my personal ranking of the list. Let me know if you want to see more of these, maybe top 5 best drivers to use competitively, top 5 fun drivers, my top 5 favorite drivers, or Beyblade combos, more just any other type of video. Let me know what you want me to do, and if it sounds interesting, I'll give it a try. Subscribe if you enjoyed, and don't forget to keep on blading.